Holy Jesus.
Oh, God. Oh. So my name is Alyssa Moore. I'm with Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. All of us are none, Oakland chapter. Today I'm with Sol Marcado and Alicia Perez. We're here today to talk about involuntary conversations. Well, obviously that's the name. And we're talking about ACA 8 and giving the people the right to choose and vote in the state of California whether they support slavery or not, right? So what ACA is a constitutional amendment to remove the exception clause from the 13th Amendment. And in doing so, it would effectively give people that are currently in custody inside some anonymity over their own bodies the right to choose whether they want to labor in dangerous and unsafe working conditions, or if they want to get some real rehabilitation. You know, the state of California can no longer continue to put lipstick on a pig and tell us that they're beautiful, because, like, at the end of the day, they want us to come out of prison rehabilitated, and we are not doing that if we are enslaved, right? So our goal is to bring this to the people and give the people the right to choose, and every person that pays taxes in the state of California the right to vote whether they support slavery or not. So that's where we're at with it, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce the ladies, let them talk about, you know, the amount of time that they served, and probably a few different types of jobs, and then I'll have a set of questions for each of the ladies. So we'll go ahead and start with Sol.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sol Mercado, and I'm the reentry coordinator for Planting Justice. I'm also a formerly incarcerated woman who served 16 years in the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. And some of the jobs that I worked, it was the kitchen. You know, there was times where I didn't get paid to do these jobs, and I will do these jobs, and I was not able to go to other programs while I was programming at these jobs with no pay at all. Some of the jobs that I did was the kitchen, you know, a porter, you know, construction, and different, you know, and the other different jobs, you know. So what I really wanted to do, I wanted to earn skills, but at the same time, I wanted to have access to rehabilitation. Thank you.
Right. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and let Alicia introduce herself and share about the different types of jobs that she held while incarcerated.
Hi, my name is Alicia Perez. I was down for 24 years. I was in the beginning, when we come in, they do like evaluation, or they do like a tab score and whatever. And
excuse me, what's a TAP score?
A TAP score is like evaluation to see where we're at, like in education, to see if we have comprehension and all that. So I was low, so of course they put me in education. Within time, my TAP score got up, and they started putting me in vocations, which I needed because I was a lifer, and I know that they said that they needed both vocations to go to board.
How many?
At least 2 to 3 vocations. My TAP score went up. So then after a while, then I became a porter, then I became construction, plan ops, and at first I was plan ops and then construction, but in plan ops, I was there for 2 years and I went construction. And after construction was like doing, because ADA they had a lawsuit through ADA, so they started IDL.
And started also, can you hand me that, please?
Yes.
Also started having several different types of jobs for you as well, right? Yes. Okay, so question. First question is going to go to Sol. So during your time at, let's say you were incarcerated at CCWF and Valley State Prison for Women, correct?
Yes.
So, okay, so like, there was all these different types of jobs that you guys held. At any time during your incarceration, did you feel like you could fully support yourself with the pennies that they would give you?
No, you know, all the jobs that I had, I got paid 8 cents, 10 cents, and all that stuff, and I owe restitution, so pretty much 55% of my paycheck went to restitution. So by the time I had an income at the end of the month, it was like $8, $12. The maximum was not even $24.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you know, we're just gonna say ACA 8 is not a wage bill. That's what a lot of people get it confused. So, if you had a choice, since they were not paying you anyways, but like that's not what we're asking for. We're asking for you to have a choice as an incarcerated individual. Like, if you could have chose like an education path that you could really invest your time in, what would you have done?
There was other like vocational classes and stuff that I wanted to do, and I didn't qualify because of my time too, and because I wasn't a short termer, I was a long termer, and technically I was going to go to board, but technically I didn't qualify for other jobs. So there was jobs like, that I wanted to earn skills on, carpentry, optical, computers, cosmetology, and I didn't get to do those things because they had me scrubbing toilets somewhere else, where, for a few cents to nothing. And I was stuck in jobs that they put me in, and when I could have been doing cosmetology and all those groups that I really wanted to do, it was something that really caught my attention, and that I really wanted to earn those skills. And I feel like, scrubbing toilets is not something that I wanted to do when I got out of prison.
So did you feel like at any time, like while you were having those types of jobs, like that you were at an unsafe environment? Like you mentioned, a vocational janitorial type of jobs. Like, did you feel like the state of California afforded you like the appropriate protections in the work environments that you were in?
Absolutely not. Like, one good example was when I was working in PIA, in PIA fabric. The smell of the chemicals. We were constantly having headaches. The material that we're using to sew, it was always caught up on our throat. Like, like we breathe all that stuff. And at one point, because they didn't provide me the proper PPE, like I had to get rushed to a hospital because I got chemical in my eyes. So it was a constant, like, unsafe, environment, where they didn't provide the proper PPE, and we brought that up so many times, but they didn't care.
Yeah. So since you've been home, have you like been able to address any of the complications from that?
Yes. I've been to the doctor. I have a permanent scar in my eye that was from that is never gonna go away. And so I took, they gave me some steroid eye drops and all that to be able to get down the swelling, but the permanent scar that I have in my eye will never go away.
Okay, that's awful. And that's probably just one of probably many injuries through different jobs throughout the years, probably, I imagine. Question. So let's say that ACA 8 passed, and let's imagine if we were still incarcerated, like all of the things that we get because we work, what would be the main reason for you why you wouldn't quit your job if the legislation did pass?
One, it will be a job that I really like, that I really want to learn all the skills and complete the whole program, um and just, like, that will be a huge reason for me. Like, if I do a job that I really like, that I want to get those skills, that I don't feel that I'm stuck in.
Yeah, so this having a right to choose.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel that we will accomplish way more with our rehabilitation if we are able to choose.
Yeah, okay. And so, do you feel like, I would like to know about like CDC restrictions. So there's a lot of, privileges tied to being A1A status and having a job. So far as those kind of privileges, family visits, regular visiting, canteen, shop limits, sale limits, so, etc., yard time, so forth. Those kind of things that are tied to being employed in CDC. out of those privileges, like, what is the main reason why you would stay going to a job of some form in CDC?
To be able to have visits with my family, to be able to have visits with my family, because if you don't program, like, you don't get no visits, and that for me is very important, because you gotta be able to work on those connections, before you get home. You gotta make amends. You gotta work on building a new relationship with your family and your loved ones, and that's a huge part of rehabilitation right there.
Cool, cool. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And we're going to turn this conversation to Alicia. And we all know Alicia, Sol and myself and Alicia have done a significant amount of time incarcerated together. So why don't you share your story a little bit, Alicia, so far as since you came home, and what that journey has been like as a direct result of the carceral system and concerning your enslavement.
It's been a struggle. It's been really a struggle. The fact that for the last 7 years before I got out, I was working at EL, and they kept me there. I couldn't proceed to doing my education. I put a request in to do education because I don't have my GED. I didn't graduate high school. And for that being said, it's really hard out here now to get a job. I work at CEO, and that's part of a program for parolees. I've been out almost 7 months, and I'm still working there. They're trying to get me a job, but however, because I don't have my GED or high school diploma, it's been a struggle. And it's been a challenge after a challenge. So if I had that opportunity in there to pursue my education, I think that it would have been much easier for me out here to get a job. But like I said, it's been a struggle for me.
Yeah, and so like when you say IDL, like, there's probably going to be people looking at this that don't really know about IDL, right? So it's inmate day labor. And tell us what you were doing. Buildings
from the ground up, and this is part of ADA. They have like a lawsuit, so we had to improve medical. So we enlarged medical, the C yard, B yard, and D yard, and R&R to comply for ADA. So from ground up, we built buildings. And I know I have certificates. I do have certificates. I did complete my apprenticeship for the training for construction. However, because I don't have my GED, that doesn't even matter out here anymore.
Yeah. So, like, you really were building the prison from the ground up, and now construction is like not even an option for you because of the GED.
Yes.
Wow. And so, like, has parole offered you any type of resources?
No.
And so, like, do you feel like you were able to, because I'm sure they're spending, we know, they're spending, upwards into 30, 40, 50,000, depending on somebody's medical and health status on each individual that they incarcerate each year, right? And beyond that, even if the medical is worse. But the question is, like, do you feel like any of those, thousands and over 3 years, that's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars they spent on you and called it rehabilitation. Coming out here, do you feel like you've been rehabilitated at all when it comes to your skills?
No, I felt like they got me to, like, be a failure out here, because I felt like if it was rehabilitation, they would allow me to continue education and then maybe half-time construction. But again, they never did that. Even when maybe 6-7 months before I went to board, there's also like another program that's called like SAP or whatever. I also requested that. To do that, they didn't even bother to do that.
Okay, let me just clarify. SAP, that's a substance abuse program?
Yes.
Okay, so you requested a substance abuse program and were denied.
I was denied.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, I felt like they threw me out to be a failure. And in a part of sense of way, I do feel like I've been a failure. I've been out here for 7 months, and I have been struggling to get a job. And
But you work 4 days a week
yes,
at CEO, and so just a little bit about CEO. You don't get a pay stub for that job, do you?
no,
So you get like,
$109 each day, and it's added to our card. And that's basically our income. They just provide that to assist us, and they're supposed to work with us to get a job. So they have like businesses or other contracts with other employments, and they're the ones that do like the three-way party. So that way we don't have to talk about our past. However, I've been interviewed, did a UA test, and did background. And my background hasn't even came up yet because it's been like 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks to wait for our background. And then again, they brought up my education. So it's been a struggle to try to get a job, just the simple fact because of my GED.
yeah, that's like really heartbreaking, because like, you know, for me personally, it hits home, because like I watched both of these girls work really hard inside the prison, and I always had a job too as well. I've worked in every different position you could probably think of within the prison, from being a stationary engineer on down to the paint shop, to you know, every different type of vocation that you could imagine over the span of my incarceration. But I used to watch you guys work particularly hard, and sometimes I would be pissed off, you know, because I'm like, why are they doing all this extra? You know, I used to think they're making the rest of us look really bad because these girls worked super hard. And when it comes to Alicia particularly, she was always working, you know, and so to see her out here and to have her like at the state she's in, not being able to like actually work and put her skills to good use is really heartbreaking, because like I literally watched her build the prison, you know, and take care of the prison over time. And so it's really heartbreaking to see this, and to see that the state of California is still, you know, calling this rehabilitation. For me, ACAA is a public safety matter, because we are all coming home. Unfortunately, you know, everybody needs to come to grips with that. Sooner or later, people are going to complete enough groups, enough classes, enough therapy to be considered by, you know, the Department of Corruption as rehabilitated, and we're coming home. So like, who do they want to come home, right? For me, it would be people that are healed, right? I changed my life and I came home, and today I have devoted my life to public service for those on the inside, and that's my path. But I would hope that we're able to give people that are on the inside some agency over their own bodies and their own anonymity to choose what they want to do with their life, and what rehabilitation looks like to them, whether it's education, whether it's therapy, whether it's exercise. What is it that is going to help them heal from their past traumas? Because we need people to come home truly rehabilitated, and this bill really isn't anything else but a public safety bill, because it has nothing to do with wages and everything to do with teaching people how to exercise anonymity over their healing and their rehabilitation, and for that to translate into public safety. So I don't know, for me, that's the biggest connection with ACAA. If you don't have people having some type of agency over their own bodies and their own minds and their own healing, how can we say that just because we give them a parole docket, they're rehabilitated? They've never even had a chance to exercise agency over their own body, right? So what do you think, Sol, when it comes to that connection?
Well, I really wanted to quickly say because we didn't touch on mental health, and I feel that that's a big issue, because, you know, like out here we are able to to miss a day off work if we're like going through something, like we could take a sick day, a pay day off, and work on what we need to do, and the ladies, in there, they are not able to, they're not able to take a mental health day, like basically like miss a day of work because you get written up, and you go to mental health and you're trying to get services, and they deny you, so I feel that that's one a big important part right there. And also the ability to be able to choose.
Well,
Did I go off? I feel like I went a little bit off topic, but I wanted
no,
to
you didn't. You
I
didn't.
wanted to make.
Question. No, you're good. Question. So, like, can you explain that for people that might not be aware? Like, if you had a death in the family, what would that look like? Let's say you were notified hypothetically at, 8 o'clock at night. They called you to the program office and notified you. What would that look like? Can you give people a picture of that?
Well, they call you to the program office, they give you the bad news and send you on your way. Like sometimes, majority of the times, they don't offer to talk to mental health. They don't say, hey, if I understand what you're going through right now. If you don't have to go to work tomorrow, so you could be able to process this, like that doesn't work that way, like they just send you on your
So
way
what
and
if,
they expect you to show up to work on the next day like nothing happened.
and then if you did, pursue, go to medical and request time off, what would that look like?
Well,
If
you
you
still
if you
get
went,
written up because you are trying to go to medical and you're not showing up to work.
I had the same incident. My brother died in 2017. I called my mom that afternoon, and my mom said that my brother died, and I was going through it that night. The next morning, I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to work. My staff was an off staff. It wasn't a regular staff, so I actually literally had to go to work. That day, our regular staff showed up at third watch, and I told her, like, I really need to talk to somebody. And finally, she actually called mental health, and I seen the site, and actually, they gave me a lay-in. But
what was the land for? How long?
for a day,
One day?
yeah,
And your brother just passed away?
yeah. But
And
that
so-
morning, when I talked to that staff, they're like, we're not our regular staff, I'm sorry, you have to go to work, because I didn't want to.
Wow, so they made you go to work, and
Yes.
then they only gave you one day
Yes.
to process, like, so maximum time, like, we're talking about, like, they give you no time for grievance, and then, like, so question, we are all familiar with the term going postal, but, like, if you worked for 16 years, Sol, and never had a vacation, like, how's your work-life balance now? Are you able to do that now at all?
Absolutely, and I love it. Like I feel that, like ever since I came out, like I've been on the go, I've been working, I'm still attending self-help groups, even though I'm no longer on parole and all that stuff, and I get involved with different programs. And so I try to get my days, I sometimes I have to check myself and be like, so you could take a day off. It's okay. You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel like you're gonna be targeted, like you're gonna, like you're gonna get written up, So I try my best, like I do like take days off, and I actually have self-care, because it's, even though like I got out, like life still happens, and now and I have so many losses, and so many people around me have had so many losses, um and I had and actually I've been able to sit back and actually have a grieving moment, instead of like having to stuff it in and go about my day because I can't get a day off, or I can't get a moment to where I could stop and just process everything.
That's right. Well, I'm really happy to hear that you're able to do that. So, like, I would take vacation and shoe, but that was one of the things that like I did be a lot. Like whenever, I did end up going to jail, it was like vacation for me. Like I would probably have a DA referral or something happening, but I would be so relieved to be not working and not having to be like, on the go all the time, running from one class to another. Like jail wasn't all that bad for me. I'm guilty. But like for people that like yourself and Alicia that for the most part like stayed working and employed the entire time of their incarceration, like I can't imagine. It's like not having no vacation ever, right? Like that's enough to really stress somebody out. So I'm proud of you for being able to center it down a little, but that's not, I haven't been able to find that. But, so like, we're obviously talking today about slavery by another name, right? Involuntary servitude, but essentially slavery, like, what does it feel like coming home, Soul? You have a child, right? Like a beautiful little baby girl. And so like coming home and starting your life, how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you came home?
How old was I?
Yeah.
I was 35. I went into prison when at 3 days after my 19th birthday, and I got out when I was 35.
Yeah, and so like starting, from scratch at that age and being responsible for a child, what's that been like? And how does that feel when you know that like you were essentially a state employee for 16 years and then you have to come out here and work as hard as you do, for yourself and your child?
Well, now it's like, I trying to use the experiences that I went through in prison and the skills that I learned, and I've been using it out here. So, so I'm like, I feel like I just started living, and that experience that I went through while I was in prison, like I got it, like I tried to turn it into good, and you know, and I also, now that I have my child, I'm like, I would have never want my child to go through what I went through. And so, and I try to be an example for her, because she sees everything that I do and she tries to repeat it, so I gotta walk down that path, but but one day, like I hope that I get to sit down with her and talk to her and explain my journey to her, and why it's so important for me to do what I do now. Does that make any sense?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I love that you're turning it into a positive. I haven't thus far been able to do that. I came out with a real attitude because I feel like I worked so hard, like trying to get out of prison, obviously, to do everything that I was supposed to do while I was inside. And a lot of that included, working at jobs I didn't want to work at. And then coming home and being told that to get on general assistance and welfare. Basically they told me to collect food stamps and get general assistance when I got out of prison. They didn't really have any other resources for me, and I feel like if I was a state employee and not a slave, then why didn't I have some type of retirement after working for 25 years? Why didn't I have anything after working for that long, And so like a lot of times, I joke, I work at LSPC, but I joke like that I came to LSPC to retire because like by this time, after being a state employee supposedly for 25 years, I feel like I should be retired. But like they really don't have any protections in place for us to even feel like we had the choice. Because like if I had a choice, I probably would have been able to, pursue education or something else that I felt was making, a difference in my life and my journey. And for me, I didn't get to do a lot of the things that I felt would have been healthy for me. Like every now and then we would get something that we knew was truly helpful. Like obviously, when we worked with Insight Garden and Prison of Peace, there was a few notable programs that really made a difference. But for the most part, most of the programming for me was like forced and felt like brainwashing at some point when it was redundant and repeated over and over, and like we were still being required to attend them and work a full-time job. So for me, it felt like a hostage situation. Most of the employment during my incarceration felt like that, and I am pretty resentful about it. But needless to say, I think that if I would have had a choice, it would have made a big difference in like my personality and like my pursuit of education, and also like how long I stayed in prison, you know, because like I was not somebody that I went see oversee. Like I did get 115s on the job. Like I was, you know, I worked at every job in the prison because I got kicked out of every job in the prison, you know? So I felt like I was resentful about it then too, because I was just a kid. I came to prison when I was 17, and I had a real attitude about the types of labor that they were having us do. For me, it started with everything from yard crew not having adequate sun protection, or even, you know, just being familiar with Cesar Chavez and the fact that farm workers get shade and ice water, and we didn't even get that until, you know, they passed that in the mid 2000s. They passed where they would have to bring us ice, but they still didn't have to give us shade. Like it was, you know, just simple things like that that used to really sit in my craw when it came to employment in CDCR. You know, not adequate protections, like Sol mentioned with PPE, and then you know, having to work around asbestos, having to work and spray harmful chemicals, not really having a choice, and then not having not just the improper equipment, not having the training, because 9 times out of 10, any certification that I did get while I was in prison, it was by trial and error. You know, even when I worked in HVAC, we're dealing with HCFCs and CFCs. These are highly combustible gases, and like we were learning to weld on our own. Like the instructor was nowhere to be around, right? So like I just didn't feel like these types of environments and these types of jobs were very safe for us to be learning on our own, like just figure it out, right? And so I really didn't engage as much as a lot of people did. I didn't put a lot of effort in because I didn't feel like most of it was either not relevant, you know, because even office services, the programming that they offer in there is 7 to 10 years old. It takes CDC that long to approve it, so all of our computer programs are all 7 to 10 years backdated, and like a lot of it just seemed really more like a dog and pony show than actual education or actual training. So I really didn't invest a lot in my vocational education or any of it, because I felt like it was more lip service than anything for me. And then so far as the jobs, most of them were really unsafe, like and not jobs that I would have chose to do had I had a choice, right? So, like, if I had a choice and I had some anonymity over it, I might have developed in a different way, I think.
You know, Alyssa, you said something very important that I feel that we should highlight. Like, you know, the computer programs, you know, like they're so old and we can't even use that when we get out here. Like now it's Google Docs and all these things, and you know, and we're like, what the heck is this? You know, what they taught us in there is so outdated. And also too, like another thing, you know, like they had the people in there working all these jobs. Like Alicia was building all kinds of buildings in the prison while the free staff was sitting watching them do all the work, and they were the ones getting paid, you know, paid sick days off, full benefits, more than $30 an hour. And you know, and they were just sitting there just basically barking orders, you know, and while, you know, while Alicia and the rest of the ladies were doing all the dirty work. And me and Alicia were roommates for a while, and I will see Alicia come in all dirty and all tired and all like, and I'm like, oh my god, like she had a rough day today, like, and she would tell me like what they build and stuff like that, and I'm like, and these guys are just sitting there like, and you see, so we are doing jobs that people out here get paid more than 30 bucks an hour with full benefits, pension, and all these things, 401k, like the whole thing that I'm still learning about, 401k and all these things that they never taught us in the prison. They get it all out here. They get it all for just sitting there.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and I used to tell like my bosses, is there any way that, yeah, we got that class the apprenticeship, and I did get certified. However, they didn't certify us for like the scissor lift. They didn't certify us in other things. So I just got the basic training of construction, and they didn't want to go further of getting us like certified. Um, so that also does kind of hinder me out here. I can say that I know how to do carpentry, and I know how to do flooring, I know how to do the framing. However, I haven't got certified on those. So basically, they have some of my supervisors one-on-ones, which is like a report that we get like every 3 months, 6 months. And those are reports that I have here that I can show, like, these are my reports by my supervisors. But still, here, it's like they don't want to hear it. As long as I don't have my GED, they really don't even want to hear it, nothing at all. So it's been a challenge. So if we had that option to say, can I go to education versus, because my task score was high, they didn't allow me to go to education anymore. They put me at work. And of course, I did like the money was $1. That's the second paying job in prison, because the first one is a joint venture. And I did pay my that's the only thing that I could say, I did pay my restitution off of my job. However, today, I don't have nothing to look forward because I don't even have my GED. So it has been a struggle to actually get a job for me.
yeah, so I mean, I think one of the things like I want to talk about is the amount of production that comes out of the prison. And when I say that, I'm just going to say for myself, I never was able to earn enough to support myself. And I'm out of prison, I'm off parole, but like, to tell you the truth, I was always breaking the law to make ends meet. And that could be anything in prison from, getting extra boxes, or to getting somebody else to shop extra money for me, or, circumventing procedure in some way to supplement, just so I could eat, right? So, like I really feel like I stayed in prison longer because I was just trying to keep some food in my locker, and some shoes on my feet. And the CDCR never really gave me an opportunity to take care of myself in a meaningful way. I was never able to provide for myself, not even for 1 month. If I kept all the money that I earned in CDC, every little penny, I couldn't have fed myself for 1 month. So, for me, that feels like exploitation on another level. When you put people in a circumstance where they cannot legally, meaningfully provide for themselves, what are they expecting us to do? And why are they still allowed to call it rehabilitation? Are we going to starve? Are we not going to have clothes to wear in the wintertime when it's freezing? Are we going to, what are we expected to do? How inhumane are we expected to live, right? We all know that CDCR does not supply us enough adequate food to maintain even a healthy body weight, right? So, what are we supposed to do? And does anybody here have any type of experience they'll share about different types of things we would do to make ends meet inside?
Like for me, I always felt bad, like, like asking my family for money. So there was times where I would like save for a few months just so that I could be able to buy me my basic necessities, or sometimes borrow things from other people and be like, hey, I'll pay you back when I get my box, um or when I shop again. So that for me, it's what I used to do. And and just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
For me, it went to when I was in plant ops. I used to work in the paint shop, and they only paid at that time like what 15, 25 cents an hour, and I used to sell the paint. I used to sell the paint to actually get my means because at 25, 30 cents, I would only get like 14, $15, and I have restitution at that time. So the way I made my ends meet is by actually selling paint to the girls because they love painting their floors, the walls. So I did what I could to get my ends meet.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part, about this current state of in all incarcerated peoples on the inside, is like, we are really put in a situation where I don't feel that you have a choice, whether to, it's not for me a choice whether I'm gonna starve or not have, what I need to take care of myself. I'm gonna do that no matter what. And I think putting people in a situation where they can't legally, meaningfully support themselves in any way, or even have the choice whether they would like to work in plant ops in a job where they have to, or even IDL where you were. And we know those jobs require extra laundry soap, extra body soap, extra shampoo, extra everything, right? So like, the state will even give you extra wash lots if you work in those positions, right? So like, these jobs cost money just to work there. And I've seen people like Alicia easily, use the majority of their pay slot just to buy laundry soap, to wash the clothes, to go back to the job. So for me, what really sits with this is like, we still don't have any agency, and we're still being forced to do this labor, and then we're not able to translate that into meaningful employment once we're paroled, right? So that's, again, people, just because we have a parole docket, we shouldn't be expected to have the ability to exercise agency and in a manner that is supportive of public safety. If we don't even have the right to choose while we're on the inside, we should at least be able to get some practice on taking care of ourselves and making choices that are healthier for ourselves. And that's why I say, for me, ACA is a public safety matter, and a public safety matter that affects everybody, because even though I served 25 years in the carceral system, today I pay my taxes, and I want my neighbors to come home from prison healed individuals, not individuals that are continue to be traumatized and this cycle to be, habituated by CDCR. So for me, like I said, I always want everybody to think about this bill in the manner in which it's written. It's not a wage bill. It's not saying pay us millions for the work we're doing. It's saying give us a choice. It's saying give us some agency over our healing and what we want our rehabilitation to look like, and make the Californian people comfortable with the millions of dollars that they're investing in rehabilitation, and show it as a true picture of rehabilitation, because if you're enslaving people, you can't call it rehabilitation.
Alyssa, one thing that that really was standing out to me when you were speaking was, you know, like, if we have more access to rehabilitation and to the programs that we want to sign up for, that we want to learn about, we will have more leaders coming in, back into society. I see a lot of us are in leadership positions, community organizers when we come out here, and it's worth the shot. It's worth being able to give us that opportunity for us to be able to be the person that we were meant to be. Even though we are inside a prison, we should have access to different programs and to different rehabilitation programs that that and jobs that we want to learn about. Instead of like one thing that kept standing up to me was scrubbing toilets. And
Right.
getting denied to go to a victim awareness group, um, you know, because they didn't want to let me go because I gotta come over here to this job and scrub toilets, and so that really like stand out to me, like like it, I could have got more, like I could have been in a year program, a victim awareness program all the whole year instead of scrubbing these toilets.
Yeah. And I
So
have one, I totally understand what you're saying, and you're preaching to the choir. I really believe in this legislation, and that's why, I support this work 100%. But like, I have one last question, and because it is Women's Month, I just want to ask the ladies here, and I'll also share. So none of us are not aware of the rampant sexual assaults and rapes and molestation of women on the inside, as we all have seen the social media posts, and statewide news of the assaults that are happening in Chowchilla Prison. I just want to know, as women, were there particular places that you dreaded working and that you did not want to work just because you knew you would deal with that specific type of harassment? And like, were you able to avoid it?
well, Alyssa, all over the prison it was, from being a porter to working in the program office to working in visiting to working in, BPH to working, in the yard. You got it anywhere, So, I can only say that there was only like a few staff that didn't, that were encouraging, and like, hey, I want you to get your life together and go home. But we encounter all those things all around the prison.
Uh, for myself, it was ideal. I actually had encountered sexual harassment with my job and one of my bosses, um, and that made me very uncomfortable. I didn't speak about it; somebody else did, brought it to somebody's attention, and that's how it got brought up, and it got my name involved. And um, after that, I really didn't feel safe. However, that was my income, so I stayed because of my income. That was my source of, at that time, I didn't want to, I was getting myself ready to board. I didn't want to steal. I didn't want to do what I used to do. So I stayed because of my income.
That's really heartbreaking. I just want to say, like, for me, there was positions and places that I avoided, like the plague. Like, I worked in the kitchen one time over the entire time I was incarcerated. Like, I hated going behind work change. I hated really leaving out the unit at all. But, like, that was one of the particular places. And I think for women, us having the right to choose where we'd like to program just based off yeah, you're right. Well, it does happen all over the prison, but we know that there's places that it happens more, right? And it's more prevalent in places that the cameras can't cover, right? So I personally feel like it's even more important for women or female identifying individuals to be able to choose what they're willing to deal with, because it's not like this stuff is going to happen today and stop tomorrow. It's going to probably be an issue in the California state prison system for some time to come because it's systemic. It's not a broken system. It's working exactly as it's designed. And women and female identifying individuals are at a much higher risk for these types of assaults from male correctional officers. So, like, I really believe that this is not just also a public safety matter. It's a plea for cry for help for women on the inside to also have that anonymity and that choice to say, hey, like, I know this really isn't a safe place to work. This is extra. not safe. Because you're right, it could happen anywhere. But if I don't want to work an out count behind Work Exchange, then I shouldn't have to. And it shouldn't definitely have to every single day because it's my state assigned job. And we know women that are dealing with that on the inside every single day. And because it is their job, they don't have a choice. And they could be held there by their pay or fear of retribution. And for me, it being Women's Month, I couldn't let it pass without pointing that out, that we are at a specific, danger, and it's an imminent danger for women on the inside. So I'll just close with that and, again, bring it back in that this is a public safety bill. Anybody else have any closing remarks?
No, I appreciate this time. Thank you for letting us speak.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, LSPC, and all of us are none for giving us this opportunity to be able to voice our, share our stories and to be able to bring awareness to this issue.